Okay, vamos pues. Start na tayo. Happy Friday. I'm not promising every day may ganito tayo, pero as much as I can, 15-20 minutes of your time. Salamat sa panonood. Okay, so medyo iba-iba yung itatouch natin ngayon. Ito uli yung handy-dandy listahan para di ko makalimutan. Start tayo dun sa page uli itself. Ang pangalan niya, The Pink Movement. I started it. I'm the only one doing things right now. I don't know if mag-expand eventually, but it's a community. That's the idea. And makikita nyo dun sa logo, I didn't have enough time to prepare for a logo. Kasi nga, it's a picture I took dun sa pasasalamat ni LENI at Kiko dun sa Ateneo. I think it's emblematic kasi nakalagay doon tayong liwanag, so I thought it was fitting. And not to put any other logo kasi parang badge of honor yun, nandun ako nung nagpapasalamat sila. Right? And why the Pink Movement? I'll go back to the Polsai analyst. I'll keep talking about si Haydarian. Siya yung nag-coin ng term na yun, or he was the first one that mentioned it. I think Monday or even before Monday, the Pink Movement, he called it. Nung naisip ko yun, medyo apt nga, and like, you know, I want to call a spade a spade. I don't want to pretend to be something else. Kasi nga, my leanings are inspired or were inspired by LENI and Kiko, yung transparency, yung accountability and integrity, right? So the Pink Movement it is. So chinek ko nung Monday, uy, meron na ba sa Facebook, meron na ba sa Instagram, meron na ba sa YouTube? Wala pa. The Pink Movement. Sa Instagram, I had to do some like letter play, pero yeah, I got it. So I think it's very apt. Tapos, bakit ba ako na-inspire? I guess a little bit of a background. Nung bumoto ako nung May, I look back a little bit and parang huling boto ko dito sa Pilipinas, parang more than a decade ago, right? And during that time, bago ako lumabas ng Pilipinas, parang like everybody or majority of us, nandiyan na yung apathy, thinking na lahat naman pare-pareho, wala namang pinag-iba. Like I'll keep saying this, I did not believe in the Dilaw ideology. I had no concept ko ng Dilaw. I think it's a recent phenomena. I don't believe into subscribing into one party. So don't call me Dilawan. Call me, you know, progressive if you will, inspired by LENI and Kiko if anything, diba? Tapos, why did I choose to create fresh from the start or a fresh page, diba? Why not dun sa existing community ko? I have an existing community, a different channel, a different page, a different group. Pero I thought it would be a disservice to the people already in the group na ba't puro politics na lang yung pinag-uusapan ko, di ba? Bakit biglang neba yung topic natin? So it's better to have this community wherein we know why we're here and walang delusion na nangyayari kasi nga iba na bigla yung pinag-uusapan, right? Thank you sa mga nanonood. May nakakita ko kanina na nag-angry emoji. Engagement yan. Salamat. Welcome kayo dito. Hello, Ana. Nag-isang nanonood right now. Hopefully, there's gonna be more. Fellow Kakampink. Ayan, Kakampink tayo. Right? But we're not close-minded. We're looking for inclusion, right? Okay, sunod. Ano pang nandito? Medyo marami to so bear with me. So bakit ako nagsa-start ng gantong type ng political commentary? May alam ba ako sa politics? Political scientist ba ako? Of course not. I'm the way I would describe this is pedestrian, common tao, kwento-kwentuhan lang, ordinary take. Why am I doing that? Isa din sa sinabi ni Haydarian, which I respect a lot, is sabi niya, hindi na siya na-surprise sa result, right? And nagulat pa rin tayo, lahat ng Kakampink nagulat tayo because we were in a bubble, right? So, ang sabi niya, ever since 2010 pa lang, 2016, the battlefield, meaning the information battlefield, was pretty much left to the right. Anong ibig sabihin nun? Ibig sabihin, yung mga nakikita natin na toxic dyan sa Facebook, sila thinking Pinoy, sila Maharlika, and hindi ko na alam yung iba, like hindi naman na nagfa-follow eh. They were allowed to proliferate by the right, meaning yung Dutertes, yung Marcoses, ever since 2016 or even further back, right? And anong ginawa ng mga nasa left side of the public space or the public hemisphere? Wala, they left it unguarded, right? And tamang sinabi niya, you cannot do that. Kasi nga magdo-dominate lang kung ano yung discourse na nanggagaling dito sa mga informal political commentators, right? So na-dominate, na-amplify, and walang rebuttal, walang nanggagaling dito sa left side of the political discussion. Kaya yung naririnig ng tao, yung mga nasa right lang, right? And sabi nga ni, sino ba to? Yung propaganda leader ng mga Nazis, si Joseph Goebbels, na kapag inulit-ulit mo daw yung isang lie 1,000 times, and with social media, 1,000,000 times, nagiging truth yan. Especially kung walang nagka-counter dito sa left side or sa other side of the political spectrum, di ba? So this is my way of having that little space na, okay, meron namang nagsasalitang common tao na nanggagaling sa medyo left side of the discussion, di ba? So hopefully there's gonna be more of us. Okay, and ano yung danger kapag puro right side lang yung naririnig sa states? Na nakikita natin yan parang sa states, and right now sinasabi ng mga tao parang may multiverse na nangyayari, especially during the election. So during in the states, it's very pronounced, lalo na doon dalawa lang yung party, yung political system, left and the right, Republicans and Democrats. Doon sa rights, because yung mga left medyo ganun din, relax din, mainstream sila pero hindi nila kina-counter directly kasi nga they're thinking na joke naman yung mga yan, we don't need to debunk them kasi nga hindi naman maniniwala yung tao. They were allowed to proliferate. I'll give you some examples. Kung familiar kayo, andyan yung InfoWars ni Alex Jones. Andyan din yung One America Network sa Amerika. So these are all extreme right-leaning, and ang sumunod pa dyan yung Fox News. Fox News, ito yung pinaka-popular na cable station in the US, and I dare say TV station in the US. It's extremely right-leaning. So yung mga ideas na fino-float nila doon, not really Fox kasi medyo mainstream pa sila, pero you would see the biases really. Pero pagdating dito sa mga fringe right, na hindi na fringe ngayon, na medyo to the center na kasi nagiging acceptable na siya. InfoWars, OAN, ito yung mga nagpapakalat ng ivermectin, ito yung mga nagpapakalat ng iba't ibang conspiracy theory, like QAnon, na ngayon, 30% of the entire US population naniniwala na doon. Right? So God knows kung ano pa yung ibang pinaniniwalaan nila, right? In the Philippines, baka magkaroon na tayo ng flat earthers because of the people coming from the extreme right. Diba? So kapag wala tayong ginawa din from the left, then wala. Talo na talaga for the next election cycles, or 2 or 3 or 4. Okay, move on. Next. So bakit nga? So after the election, I felt really, really bad. I wrote in one of the posts I did na nakakapanglumo, masakit, physically draining kasi nga you exerted a lot of effort convincing other people, right? Nag-house to house tayo, and you just cannot believe na ganun kalaki yung mandate na nabigay kay incoming President Marcos, right? So we went through those different phases of grief. And I attended yung sa Ateneo nga na pasasalamat. And pagdating doon, ibang-iba yung disposition ni VP LENI. Even yung mga live niya before, yung parang nag-unboxing siya, ibang-iba, right? Nakakagaan ng loob. And you'd feel na, why am I feeling down? Siya, sobrang dami niyang ginawa. But she still finds the strength to be able to have that straight face or masayang disposition, right? So I don't have the right to stay in my corner and sulk, diba? So kahit na hindi na sinabi, with the announcement of the Angat Buhay non-governmental organization or NGO, the key takeaway there is, for me personally, yes, hindi tayo nanalo, pero tuloy yung laban. Mashi siya, pero let me explain. Hindi tayo nanalo, pero the things that we value the most still hold true. Bakit ba tayo na-inspire kay LENI at Kiko? Because may transparency, may integrity, may accountability, and more important than anything, nakikita natin yung government na pwede sanang makatulong dun sa mga nangangailangan. Right? So, and with the launch of the NGO, you can say that, yes, natalo tayo, but the idea is still there, right? So meaning, yung key takeaway ko is, parang sinabi na rin ni Ma'am Leni, be the change that you want to see in the world. Parang paraphrasing itong si Gandhi, right? Hindi tayo nanalo, pero we can still do what we set out to do. Di ba gusto nating makatulong sa mahihirap, sa mga magsasaka, sa mga manggagawa, sa mga fisherfolk? Why can't we do that kahit na wala pa tayo sa government, right? And with a voluntarism na nakita natin sa mga kakampink, sa mga na-inspire ng Leni Kiko type of leadership, sobrang totoo yung sinabi niya na they would be able to build the biggest volunteer network in the Philippines, right? I have no doubt about that. And kung yung OVP ang late na ng budget, how much more kung maraming tao yung magbubukas ng purse nila to be able to help in that effort, right? And don't get me started on people saying na parang parallel government daw yung binubuo. No, it's an NGO. So please correct people nicely if they are saying that kind of, parang walang sense, diba? NGO nga, maraming NGO dyan, isa lang to sa other NGOs, right? Okay, moving on. Ano pa ba to? 3, 6. I think that's it on the intro part of the live today. Pero, let's move on to the next part. Lagi ako maglalagay ng good news and bad news. And the reason for this is kailangan medyo balance tayo. And we need to be, we cannot be exclusionary. I'll keep saying this. Hindi pwedeng nasa echo chamber lang tayo. Hindi pwedeng tayo lang yung naglolokohan. Parang yung mga kaibigan mo kung yun lang yung lagi makausap, then politics or elections are essentially a numbers game, right? It's a to borrow a phrase, it's a game of addition. So kung tayo lang maglolokohan, hindi lalaki yung 14 million na nakuha natin for Leni or whoever chooses to run in the future under the same type of leadership na hopefully makarry over, right? Okay. And that's another reason why I created a page para ma-carry over yung enthusiasm na nakita natin dun sa Leni Kiko campaign. Imagine, it's not all lost. Natalo tayo, but look, you have to look back, do a post-mortem. 14.8 million is not nothing. In comparison to the last election, sino ba yung medyo left doon? Si Marojas, right? Marojas, on top of Marojas, Leni got 50% more than what Mar Rojas got in the last presidential election. So 50% more. Ang laki nun. And itong si Mar Rojas, meron na siyang benefit of the incumbent. Galing tayo sa Pinoy administration. So he would have benefited from that, right? Pero ito, si Ma'am Leni, nag-start lang ng October. And sabi nga niya, if ganito na yung kalaki nung nagawa natin, nag-start siya from 8% dun sa surveys. And then pagdating ng election, she ended at 28% after what? 5-6 months? Just imagine what we can do together with that same zeal and enthusiasm for the next 3 years, senatorial siguro, and the next 6 years, right, sa next presidential election. So hope is not lost, right? As long as we stick together and we keep at it. Okay, sorry medyo mahaba. Friday, so pagbigyan nyo na ako. Ang dami pa sa listahan ko. Next, good news, bad news. So itong discussion natin, we're aiming to be balanced. Good news, na nakita natin sa news today, start ako with Amy Marcos. I never thought I would say that I agree or I agree on principle with Amy Marcos. But she said something, syempre iba yung action sa intent, right? Makikita natin later on kung ano yung mangyayari. She said that the incoming administration should fix yung work from home arrangement nung BPO or IT industries natin, right? And whenever we talk about the bad news and the good news side of the lives I'm doing, try kong kunin yung mga nagbe-make sense sa akin na may alam ako ng konti or I experience it directly para mas meaty yung nabibigay ko na points, right? So, IT BPO, itong work from home arrangement, I can relate to it. Galing ako sa BPO industry. And I distinctly remember gaano kahirap yung paglilipat ng mga workstation, from the call center, sa bahay. Sobrang hirap. Ilang araw yun, right? Ngayon, as it stands, marami na yung nakabalik. I think as it stands, parang 70% na dapat. Nagkaroon ng negotiations between PEZA and the BPO companies. So ngayon, 70%. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? But Amy is saying na moving forward, we should fix that, right? Kasi nga napakita ng pandemya na BPOs can function well, mind you, in a work from home arrangement. So why fix something that's not broken, 'di ba? What if magkaroon ulit tayo ng pandemic? So babalik uli yung mga tao from 70% right now on site. Babalik uli sa mga bahay nila, 'di ba? Ang laking problema nun logistically, right? And alam niyo naman yung traffic sa mga taong pumapasok na sa offices nila. So I don't need to belabor the point there. So sabi ni Amy, kailangan ayusin na 'yan kasi nga meron ng Telecommuting Act and napatunayan ng BPO na nag-grow pa sila kahit work from home arrangement. Yung workforce tumaas daw up to 15%, lahat ng nasa IT BPO. Tapos yung revenue ng IT BPO industry, ito yung notes, umabot daw ng increase of 15% during that pandemic period. Work from home to So why are we forcing people, or companies for that matter? We have to respect the companies, right? Decision pa rin nila yan as private companies. But why do we have to force them kung gumagana naman, right? And I have to give kudos to one of the biggest employers dito sa Pilipinas, Concentrics. I think they're above 100,000 employees already, and they decided to buck yung pagkawala ng incentive. So for them, baliwala. I mean, for them, they're willing to let go of the tax privileges that they're getting from from the incentives from the PEZA program, just for the sake of their people. It takes guts to do that. But I think they were thinking about their people first, right? Kasi ang laking tax incentive noon, I can imagine. But they said na, yeah, we're willing to let go of that para lang makapag-stay dun sa work from home arrangement. So I think that's a mighty brave stand that they took. Okay, so Amy, good job dyan. Sana ituloy mo yan, paayos nyo yan, hopefully. Tapos next, BBM, President BBM, incoming President. Ito, sabi ni Spox, Isabong, good job. Sabi niya, according to President BBM, he is not willing to compromise the moral fiber of Filipinos. So si Digong pinatigil na yung Isabong, which is sobrang laki nung kinikita ng Isabong according to the Senate increase. Parang hindi ko na maalala, pero si Atong ang yung nagsabi noon, parang 6 billions, hundreds of billions ang kinikita nila monthly, right? So natatakot silang alisin nung una, pero after further evaluations, recommend kay Digong patigil na yan. So natigil na nga, right? So far. And kung good job doon kay Digong. I think it's a right decision. Maraming corruption na nangyayari even in the police ranks na documented ng mga media organizations, tumataya, nagagasta yung sweldo, more than that, kung ano nung funds, yung mga seaman nawawalan ng 1 million pesos dahil mali nga yung tinayaan. So nakakasira ng pamilya yan. Sinabi rin nila yan, right? So kay BBM, hindi daw niya itutuloy yung Isabong, right? So we have to commend them. We have to commend him for that. He's taking leadership for that. Kasi nga maraming nasisirang pamilya, to use an often used line na medyo gasgas na. Pero totoo, right? Okay. Isa pang good news. BPO, BBM. Sa BSP naman. So sa BSP, nag-hike sila ng interest rates by 25 basis points. Medyo technical to, pero ang pagkakaintindi ko dito ay they are doing it to combat runaway inflation. Ibig sabihin, dati pandemic tayo, so medyo yung interest rates, they're keeping it low on purpose. Pero now, dahil umangat nga yung ekonomiya natin by 8% in the first quarter, so they are taking that stance. Afford na natin to. Yes, as consumers, medyo mahihirapan tayo. Kasi nga, it's gonna be harder to secure loans. medyo mas mataas ang interest rate. But overall, it's a commonsensical decision, right? We can say kasi nga they're thinking about inflation. Nobody wants runaway inflation, right? Tapos nakita ko rin, binayaran ng government ni Digong yung 200 billion na debt nila sa BSP. Walang interest yun, pero they paid it off even before the deadline. So I think that shows na they are responsible fiscally in that sense, right? Alam natin maraming katiwalian na nangyari in the past, like Pharmaly pa lang, and then yung PhilHealth, and then SSS, but that's for a different discussion. For this specific news item na nakita ko, I think, it's fiscally responsible that they did that. And it gives the right signals, especially sa international observers for the foreign direct investment na kailangan natin, right? Okay, punta tayo sa bad news. Una dito ay itong sumikat na sa New York na si Ernest Bahala. So, isa daw tong immigrant, 14-year-old immigrant na sa Bronx, New York. So, ginawa niya, medyo in-stalk niya si VP LENI nung nandun siya sa Radio City vicinity yata, nagkaroon ng maliit na Kakampink gathering. Alam niyo na yan, nakita niyo na yan sa news. So, ang sabi nila, allegedly, ano daw to, illegal immigrant na for 14 years. But, again, we have to be balanced. May mga nakikita akong from the Kakampink side na they're bad-mouthing the person. Alam natin masama yung ginawa niya. Stalking is in fact a crime in the US, right? Illegal immigration is a crime, right? Pero we cannot, we have to be inclusive. Kung iba badmouth natin, especially wishing ill health dun sa person, I mean, how is that going to appear to the other side? Screenshot lang nila yan, yung mga kakampings ang sabi, dapat ma-deport na yan, sana, I don't know, bad things, right? So, hindi siya magandang image, if you will. Now, if you want to report the person, i-report sa ICE, or i-report sa, I don't know, for stalking in New York, you can do that without publicizing it. Kasi we have to be smart about this. 14 million tayo, 31 million sila. So pag nakita nila lahat ng paninira, eto kay Ernest, na kahit mali naman yung ginawa, di ba? Madaling i-take out of context yan. So, I mean, just be silent about it if you're gonna report him. Okay, iba. Next, etong pagiging exclusionary tendency or pagkakaroon ng exclusionary tendency ng ibang kakampik. This is an ongoing thread I'll have to keep hitting on. It's a numbers game. Hindi tayo makakuha ng people from the 31 million side kung ini-alienate natin sila, right? So may mga nakikita ako ng mga kakampink. Unfortunately, again, we have to call out behaviors na hindi makakatulong sa atin, na nag-resort into groupings, into exclusionary tactics, whether it's jobs, opportunities, at kung ano-ano pang bagay, right? So let's say magpo-post ka publicly, hey, I'm looking for kakampinks lang for this job opportunity, right? You mean well, pero how would that appear to the other side? Diba? Itong mga kakamping na to, matapobre talaga, right? We want to break that narrative. We know we're not like that, diba? Pero ma-reinforce yung narrative na yun, right? And meron pa dyan mga chismis na kapag may nag-i-interview daw, tinatanong, sino binoto mo? Wag ganun, right? That is outlandish na discrimination, right? Parang if we find somebody, pag tinanong na natin yun, bias na kaagad tayo doon, right? If you're the HR interviewer, parang I understand where HR managers are coming from kasi you don't want to hire somebody na hindi kayo similar ng ethics. Pero if you start off with that, and if that's your gatekeep, it's not the LENI Kiko type of leadership that we're embodying, right? We're excluding people from the group that we're trying to expand. So wag sana tayong ganun, right? Okay, another example from being exclusionary. Teddy Bagilat, I admire him, I respect him, I voted for him. So nag-tweet siya, sabi niya something hindi ko na masyadong naalala, pero about yung mga artista, mag-aaral naman daw about public administration. So this time sila naman daw na nakapag-public admin na, kailangan na mag-artista, right? I mean, yes, tama. If you're trying to appeal to a certain audience. Sa Twitter, maraming woke, maraming kakampinks, maraming better off in life, right? Di ba, magpakatotoo na tayo, right? Pero, pag nilabas na yan, and nilagay na yan sa mainstream, right? For example, nakita ko siya sa Inquirer, nakita ko rin siya sa Twitter, right? How would that appear to the 31 million people, or let's say kay Robin na lang, 26 million people that voted for an artista, right? Anong sinasabi nyo? Mali yung choice namin. They have their reasons, right? Maybe misinformed yung reason in your opinion, pero it's a valid reason in their end. So pag nakita nila yan, ay itong si Teddy Bagilat, anti-artista yan, bumoto ng artista yan, right? Again, binoto ko si Teddy Bagilat, pero ito lang yung example ng pagiging exclusionary natin that we need to avoid if we are to expand this movement, di ba? Okay, on the flip side, what could he have said? Ewan ko, naisip ko lang, Robin, pwede ako mag-advise, I can help you, I'm willing to coach you. I don't know. Parang common tao lang naman ako, so I don't really know. Pero on the flip side of that, not to be exclusionary, kasi matitake out of context yan, especially pag mainstream na yung nakakuha. Diba? Okay, next, na bad news, ito sinasabi ko nung unang live natin na we have to assume na yung mandate ng 31 million is solid, they're duly elected, kasi nga dapat merong cold hard facts. That's what we should be believing in. That's what we should be basing our opinions on, right? So may mga lumalabas na medyo bigger organizations about systemic irregularities, right? Isa na dyan yung kontra-daya. Tapos isa pa dyan ay yung organization na tinatawag na, teka lang, hindi ko mahanap. International Coalition of Human Rights. So medyo may overlap yung mga sinabi nilang na-observe nila. And yung mga main points, medyo mahaba yung report ng international body, 31 pages. Pero yung mga nag-stick out ay, sinabi din ng Kontradaya to, yung automated election system, lack of transparency daw. So maybe dito nag-hit on yung mga theory nung iba na Java error. Again, we're waiting more on that. Tapos, common din sila sa pagsabi ng systematic disinformation. Right? Alam nyo na yan. So that's why we're trying to do our little part here to kind of fight the disinformation. Tapos, unchecked vote buying. Bago tayo magpunta doon, ayan ang ating mascot, si Chichi. Chichi yung name niya. Dalawang dogs dito, yung isa nandun sa gilid. Maybe next time. So, vote buying. Marami na tayong naririnig niyan, pero unless anecdote lang, we can't really use it in any court, right? Kailangan more than anecdote, solid proof. So, ito yung isang international organization nagsasabi na meron daw silang, at least they're saying na merong unchecked vote buying based on their observations, right? Sino tong mga to? International to. These are people from the UK, from the US, from Australia, from Belgium, parliamentarian pa yata ng Belgium. Nagpunta sila dito to observe the elections. And ito yung mga points na nakita nila. Right? I don't know if the government will do anything about this, about the report. Pero ito yung nire-report nila. And this is more than hearsay. Right? Okay. Moving on. Okay, so before tayo matapos, I need to touch on dealing with this information. Some tips lang. Nakita ko sa ibang kakampinks na This is not coming from me. I'm paraphrasing. Nakita nila sa observations nila, right? So how to deal with trolls or disinformation. And this is something I'm gonna live by dito sa page ko and even in my own personal accounts. Because I think it makes sense. And I'll try to put this in a separate post. Pero ang summary dito is number 1, be nice. So kahit na troll, alam mong troll yung kausap mo, right? Be nice. Kasi nga, kapag nagko-comment ka sa kahit anong bagay, kapag nang babarubal ka, kapag nang babardagul ka, makikita ng mga friends mo yan na nandun sa same group, right? And makikita ng ibang totoong tao yan na friends nung troll o hindi. Makikita nila, itong kakamping na to, hindi well-mannered. Di ba linyahan nila yan? Hindi well-mannered, right? So, always think about that. Pag nagko-comment ka, makikita ng ibang tao yan. And it's always easy to take that out of context. Right? So, be nice. Right? So, sabi, ewan ko kung saan galing. Sa Biblia ba to? Or kapag binato ka ng tinapay, or bato, batuin mo ng tinapay. Something like that. Baligtad. Okay. Hindi ko alam kung saan galing really. I'm not sure. Okay, next. To fight disinformation, and dun sa be nice na part, how much more kung totoong tao, genuine na tao yung kausap mo, di ba? Kung binarubal mo yan, kung binastos mo, lalong i-word of mouth ka niyan. Itong kakampink na to, ganto sila, ganto yan, ganto silang lahat, di ba? Right? We don't want that. Okay, next. So, etong next ay sa mga legit na trolls. So, pag nakita mong hindi genuine, meaning hindi tinitrigger ka lang at hindi naman totoong tao, alam mong troll, huwag kang mag-respond directly. Kasi itong mga troll na to, they think of it as a job lang, diba? In every job, may metrics yan. So, isa sa mga metrics nitong mga troll na hindi naman natin masisisi in the sense na kumikita sila dyan, kabuhayan nila yan, and mahirap ang buhay ngayon. So, for them, trabaho lang talaga. For many of them, right? So, yung metric nila is engagement. The more people engage with you, the more maganda yung performance nila. Performance-based din yan. So, ibig sabihin, pag maraming nagre-reply sa'yo, pag maraming nagko-call out sa'yo, you're doing your job well. Baka may performance incentives pa yung mga yan, right? So, wag nating patasin yung engagement score nila, right? Pahirapan natin. Let's work against the system. Kasi yung mga frontliners na yan, we want to think of them as victims pa rin, di ba? Kasi yung mga architect ng disinformation, yung mga nagbabayad sa kanila, yung mga manager nila on top of them, and yung mga nagbabayad dito sa agencies na to, alam nating negosyo na yan, right? So, one way to not increase their engagement is wag nyong ia-at. Let's say, na nagsabi si Eric Martinez, hoy, wala namang logic yung sinabi mo. Tapos replyin mo, at Eric Martinez, bakit walang tatatatat, blah, 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 blah. Engagement na kaagad yun sa kanila, right? So, don't at them. Wag nyong replyan directly. What you can do daw, and I think it makes sense, is to create another thread and then sabihin, hoy, or to Eric Martinez without using the elite sign para hindi sila tumas ng engagement. To Eric Martinez, then make your counter argument. But be nice pa din. Kahit troll yan, be nice. Makikita ng ibang tao yan, right? And mangyayari doon, hindi siya madadagdagan ng engagement, right? So work against the system. Tapos, kung ito, you have to remember, their work against the metrics. So, savvy ang mga yan, hindi sila tawag na troll. Ang job descriptions nila usually ay PR strategist or PR operator. I don't know, pero hindi troll yung job description nila or job title, I should say. So, smart yung mga yan, and for them to be great at their job, kailangan i-trigger nila yung mga tao. So, the more na nanggagalaite ka, the more na feeling mo walang ka-sense yung sinasabi ng isang tao, they're winning. Right? So, ang tactic dyan, kung gusto mong mag-good job ka nung head nung agency nyo. Lahat ng pinakabastos na pwedeng sabihin, lahat ng pinakawalang kwenta na pwedeng sabihin, lahat na pinakawalang sense na sabihin, yun ang sasabihin mo. Why? Kasi matitrigger yung mga kakampink. Yung mga kakampink, I'm not excluding anybody, pero sabihin na natin, medyo karamihan dyan educated. Pag nakakita ng walang sense na argument, bastos na argument, manggagalaiti yan, sasagot yan. And the moment na sumagot ka, engagement yan for the troll. Good job yan from the head troll. Right? And makikita pa nung ibang tao yun, ibang totoong tao, yung sagot mo na nanggagalaiti. And pag nanggagalaiti ka, you're in the wrong. Sabi nga sa mythology yata yun, "Oh Jupiter, when you're angry, therefore you're in the wrong." Kapag galit ka, mali ka. Right? Okay. Tapos, ayan, tandaan nyo, kapag outlandish, kapag bastos, kapag hateful yung comments, control yourself. Tactic ng troll yan. Fight against the system. Fight against disinformation. Work against the system. Right? Okay, next. Anong mas effective? In my opinion. So, in my humble opinion, bilang common na tao, na walang masyadong alam dyan, ang opinion ko ay wala pa rin tatalo sa direct engagement. I'm talking outside of social media, right? I understand sa social media, mas mabilis ang mga kaganapan, ang mga pag-uusap, pero nakita na natin sa eleksyon na it could only go as much, right? And I understand during the last election cycle, nag-declare lang si LENI October. Medyo nag-solidify lang yung movement ng January, February. So kailangan double time. Kailangan mabilis. So social media, right? Pero wala pa rin tatalo sa tao na pakikipag-usap, right? So madami tayong mga kamag-anak, marami tayong mga kaibigan na iba yung paniniwala. Right? We have 3 years to work on the next senatorial election to convince them otherwise. We have 6 years for the next presidential election to convince them otherwise. Kung dito sa 6 months na to, may mga na-convince na tayo sa social media pa lang, how much more in the next 3 or 6 years, right? Magso-social media na tayo, magtatao sa tao na tayo. Bakit ko nasabi yun? Na kapag I've had the pleasure to volunteer house to house ng 3 beses for LENI and Kiko. And kapag tao sa tao, walang bastos. Hindi gaya sa social media. Kahit na solid BBM yan, kahit na solid Isko yan, kahit na solid whatever sila, kahit na may nakapaskil na pagkalaki-laking President BBM and VP Sara sa pinto nila, kinakatok namin yan. Tao po, tao sa tao, puso sa puso. Alam ko, gasgas na, pero iba yung satisfaction na nakuha ng mga nag-volunteer. Imagine yung ibang nag-volunteer, Feb pa lang, nag-house-house na. Grabe, I tip my hat off to them. Itong mga bata na to, sobrang energetic. Right? So, sobrang heartbroken din yung mga yan. So, back to my point. Itong tao sa tao na to, walang bastos in real life. Magagalang ang mga Pilipino. May mga nangkakantsaw. Yan, yung mga bata, sa pagdaan mo sa daan, BBM. Lenny Lugaw. Pero, di ba, pagharapan na, pag nilapitan mo, walang bastos. Lahat makikinig. Right? Probably superficial na pakikinig yung iba, pero hindi ka nila babastusin. Especially kung magalang ka, kung nire-respeto mo sila. Right? So, that's my personal experience. Now, amplify that. How much more if we do that for the next 3 taon, 6 na taon, and this time, yung mga kamag-anak natin, yung mga kaibigan natin, usapan natin ng harap-harapan, right? Diba? Over beer. Inuman lang yan. Wala namang alaskan pag magkakakilala kayo, 'di ba? Kung ngayon nga, 'di ba, we respect people on the street na nakikita natin na BBM. We respect them. How much more yung mga kamag-anak nyo, 'di ba? Kainan lang 'yan, inuman lang 'yan, onting usapan lang 'yan. And 'di ba, makikita naman sa performance ng government na, okay, hindi sila nagli-live up dun sa promises nila, hindi natutupad yung promises nila, if ganun nga yung mangyayari, then that's going to be fodder for you, that's going to be leverage for you, para masundot ng pakonti-konti in those micro conversations with your own circle of people, etong movement that we strongly believe in, right? So, pakonti-konti, right? Mga kaibigan nyo, mga relatives nyo, right? So, puso sa puso, to use that gas-gas na term. Okay, medyo mahaba na. Tapusin na natin ng konti. Ano pa bang pagsasabihin ko dito? I think that's everything. I just want to invite you bago matapos na I'm working on nag-edit na ako ng videos na galing dun sa pasasalamat rally dun sa Ateneo na nandun sila LENI, Kiko. I'm putting all of that in a YouTube channel. Meron tayong YouTube channel, the same, the Pink Movement. All of the proceeds will go to the Angat Buhay NGO, just like this page. Kapag kumita na, pero tagal pa yun. Alam ko na kung gaano katagal yan, pero matagal pa yun. So, kung gusto nyong i-reminisce yung times natin together in the rallies, I'm gonna house them there. Tapos kung may gustong mag-contribute ng sarili nilang videos in the rallies, you can email pinkmovementph@gmail.com para malagay natin dun sa YouTube channel. All of the proceeds eventually that will be earned, pupunta dun sa NGO natin. Right? Tapos, I think, iyon na lahat. Masyado ng mahaba to, pero good na medyo nagiging comfortable na tayo. Salamat sa mga nanood. Salamat sa mga manonood in the coming days or hours. So, happy Friday. Feliz fin de. Nos vemos. Bye-bye.